We are going to start class. What is a class in Java? Tell me, guys. We can say a class is a user defined data type. I'll prove this. We can say it's a model or blueprint to create object. Has state and behaviors. A class is a user defined data type, or it's a model, or we can say a blueprint to create objects. A class has state and behaviors. Real world entity exists conceptually. So from this point we can say does not exist physically. Okay, so these are the 4 points we need to remember. The first one is very important. Like whenever you think about a class, think this is just a type or user defined data type. Like when we were studying about data types, so there were two types, like inbuilt and user defined. So inbuilt we have seen like primitives were there, right? And user defined, there were classes, there were arrays, there were enums, right? So now we are discussing about a class. What exactly class is? A class is a user defined data type. A class is a model or a blueprint to create objects. A class has state and behaviors. A real world entity exists conceptually, does not exist physically. Okay, now let's talk about this real world entity. So we can see whatever we can see around us, we can assume that is a class, right? For example, let me take person as an object, sorry, person as a class. So when we say person, so in our mind a picture came like it will the person will have a name, for example, height, weight, address, mobile number, not necessary, right? So whenever we say person, so every person will have a name, height, weight, address. Agree? We'll have some behavior like walk, talk, eat. Getting this? I'm not talking in terms of programming. I'm just taking a real world example. Like whenever designing a system, we need to think about what would be the different entity in a system. Like for example, we talk about Amazon, Flipkart. So we can say there is an entity called order, right? There is an entity called product. There is an entity called user. So these are entity basically. So I'm saying a real world entity exists conceptually, does not exist physically. So now I'm taking example of person class. So whenever we say person, so a picture came into mind, like he or she will have two legs, if not an exceptional case, right? We'll have name, we'll have height, weight, address. So whatever the properties a person can have will be there in a person. So like I am Anuj. We have Pravina.
Hello,
We
Anand.
have, sorry.
Yeah, okay. I will ask after your completion of your topic.
Okay. So all these are basically, we can say person. Can you say all these are person or not? Tell me.
Yes, yes.
Yes. Okay. Now, when we think in terms of programming, what we will be doing, we will be like, let me just represent it graphically. Let's say, for example, we have a person. So, person will have a name, age, height. I'm taking only three properties. There can be n number of properties. So, what are these basically? Sometimes I'm saying properties. Sometimes I'm saying state. Okay. Then there would be behavior like walk. Behavior can be a number of behavior we can, right? So I'm taking just two here. So these are behavior. So, or we can say actions, right? Now when we will be doing programming, we'll think about an object like, for example, you are designing a system. Every system will have user, yes or no? So that means we will be having a class kind of user, and there will be n number of user in that system or in that project. All right. Now we have an idea, like we are building a system, then obviously there will be some users belong to that system, right? Now user will have name, id, password, again age, or let me call date of birth. Designation is not suits here, for example, because we don't know for which system basically we are using this user entity. Any general system will have user. So name would be there, id, password would be there, age, date of birth would be there, like role would be there. In system, the user will have some role, like he is, for example, we are a user of Facebook, so we are just customer for them. So there might be some role they have defined for us, and there are some employees working in Facebook, right? So role would be different for them. Getting my point? Yes or no?
Yes.
All right. Now, when we think in terms of programming, so what we will be having, like we have decided that this will be the entity in our project. So we will be having something called a class. This is small c. We have a keyword in Java that starts with small letter of C, class. Whenever we want to create a class, we will be using this keyword like we are doing here. You can see. But when we say capital C, then Java has a class with that name. Let me show you that. Yeah, in java.lang package, there is a class that is called class. The class name itself is class, starts with capital C. So don't confuse between these two. Whenever we want to create a class, we will be using the small letter class, right? And whenever we want to use a class which is already uh, declared or defined by Java, then we will be using capital C. Like this, we will be using when we will be doing Java database connectivity. This class will be needed over there. Okay, now let me go back.
Sorry. I'm confused. Can you repeat, please?
Okay, there are two things. Like, can you see this
Yes.
highlighted text?
Yes.
There might be something like this. Okay,
Okay. Yeah.
so these two are different thing. Don't mix both. Both have a different purpose. So whenever you want to create a class, you just need this one. And this comes into a category of keywords. That means a reserved word. Getting my point?
Yeah.
For now, let it be. We'll discuss later on. Okay?
Yeah. Okay.
Because we are not at that stage. We can use JDBC right now. So first, let's learn how to create a class. Although we were using some classes from the day one, but now exactly what object oriented programming is, we are going to understand that. So to understand that, we should know what is an object. Then only we can move to object oriented programming, because it's in the name, object oriented. So to understand that, first we need to understand object. And to understand an object, what we need to do is we need to understand the class first. Okay, so we will be writing something like this: class and name of the class person.
So this class is used to create a class, and
Mhm.
that the capital one class is already a class.
It's already a class for some specific purpose.
Okay.
What is that purpose? For this time, you can just you can just take a note. It will be used in JDBC, Java database connectivity. So
Okay.
I'm saying I'm having a class person. The person class have name, age, or let me say address. I'm taking four properties, or let it be address here. That will be more meaningful for now. We can have multiple states, multiple properties, as much as we can. Okay, so these are basically the state of a class. Now when we are writing this into a program, what we will be doing, we will choose appropriate data type. So name, we can see, is a sequence of character that can be represented by a string or character array. So like if we were doing programming in C or C++, then it would be array of character. But in Java, there is a data type. We can say, why I'm saying data type, because it's a class and class is a data type, right? How is it's a data type? Because a class is a user defined data type. Getting my point? So name, we can say it would be a string. We can say age, it would be a number. We can take int. Address, again it would be a string. Right? Any doubt in this? Then let me take one action. For example, display info. And what it does, it says system dot, sorry, let it be display info only for now. We are not doing any work here. So this is the class we have created because we have the concept of this person in mind. So what we did, we created a class person. Now we want to create object. So to understand an object, what we will be doing, let's keep some key points about an object. It's a variable of type object. Has state and behaviors. A real world entity, yes. And exists physically. So this is all about an object. We'll be looking at it right now. A variable is of type object. For example, you say int I. From this point, we can say I is a variable of type int. Yes or no? Keep this in mind when you are doing a program. And if it is in your mind, it will be very easy. I can guarantee that. Pravina, see, what is your doubt? I'm writing int I. Can we say I is a variable of type int? Can we say that or no?
Yes.
Yes, we can. Pravina, can we say that? Are you there, Pravina?
Oh, yes, Sanju. Please tell me.
Can we say that I is a variable of type int?
Yeah.
All right. Now we have a class created person. If I say person Rama, for example, I'm taking. Can I say Rama is a variable of type person? Similarly, I'm writing the same thing. Rama is a variable of type person. Yes or no?
So object is a type of variable.
Sorry?
So object is a type of variable by this
Yes.
person Ram, right?
Yeah. So Rama is a variable of type person. So from this point, I can say a variable is a type of not object. It will be class. It depends the class type. from which class it belongs. For example, we have a class called animal. Like there are certain properties over there in this class, and I'm saying animal dog, right? So I can say a dog is a variable of type animal. Yes or no?
Yes.
So whenever you are working with class, just remember one thing, it's just like a type or a data type. But what it does, it combines lots of data inside a single object. I'll show you how. So we were talking about this person class here. We have a class person. In this class, what we have: name, age, address, and display info. So when I say person, let me call just P1, and even I'm not saying anything as of now. I'm just saying like this: person P2, person P3. So we can do that, right? Yes or no? Like for integer variable, we can say I, j, k. How many variable we want to create? We can similarly we can create any number of object for this person class, and every person will have a name, age, address, and a functionality that is called display info. This is for P1. P2 will have the similar kind of properties: name, age, address, and display info. What will be the value inside it, we'll talk about later. Just focus on the concept. Also, P3 will have name, age, address, and display info, isn't it? Tell me, guys. Yes, very good. Anybody has any doubt till this point? Feel free to ask, because this is very basic. If you got confused in class and object, then it will be difficult for me to explain things later on. This is the, I'd say, pillar. And if pillar is weak, then building will fall down. Clear? Okay. So now I was saying something like a variable of type class, and I was saying I'll prove this. Yes, I am proving this. From this point, I can say P1 is a variable of type person. Yes or no?
Yes.
All right. Okay. Now, one more thing I was saying: class is a real world entity and exists conceptually, does not exist physically. What does it mean? So when we say person, everything around us, what the person we are looking, is an object. For which class? Person class, right? Like we all are working together here in this session, we all are object of person class, right? Then I took an example of animal class. In animal class, there can be like dog, cat, cow, right? Yes or no? These are again class, because dog would be like something Zeki. Cat would be some, you can take any name. Then cow would be again a class. There are different kind of cows are there. For all the cows, there are different kind of objects are there. General thing with state and behavior. Yes, very good, Pravina. So we just need to keep in mind a class is a user defined data type, will have state and behavior, and whatever the object we are going to create will have the similar kind of properties, or we can say state, from which class it belongs. For example, we took person. Now let me just take a class dog. So we'll have name, breed, color, right? And whenever I say dog D1, that means this D1 belongs to which class? Dog class. So it will have name, breed, and color. Make sense? Anybody has any doubt? No? Okay, then I'll go further. Right now, what I'm saying is this is an object, which is basically a reference, not an actual object. But for now, you just treat it as an object. Okay, we'll look into this later on. You can assume this is an object. Now what I'll be doing, I'll create one class, person. In this class I have int, let me take ID, like if this person belong to a system, or we are not taking ID for now. Class person, we have string name, int age, and then we have string address. Address itself can be a different class. Like address has multiple properties: pin code, city, state, country, postal code. That means I have I told you earlier, that is pin code. That is the same thing. All right. So for now, we are just taking it a single entity in the form of a string. Now there can be something like some method, for example, public void display info. And when we say display info, so what it will does, it will just print out the information, name plus double quotes, age plus double quotes, plus address, for example. Okay, for now we haven't seen any access modifier, we haven't seen any constructor, right? I'm just going to tell you simple concept for now. Like this is not the standard way of doing thing what I am doing today. So just to make an understanding like what is an object, how it will work. Okay, so I'm creating one more class. Let me call it person tester. Why we need a class? So basically, whenever we need a class, what exactly the requirement when we will be building our own class? You can assume a class, like I have said, a class is a user defined data type. So whenever we want to create our custom data type, for example, I want to keep information about a person. So there are two ways, like I can keep all the information in different variables, right? Like name, age, address. I'll create for person one. For example, if there is no class person and I want to keep 10 persons information, so I will be creating 30 variable like this. This is for person one, then again we'll create for person two, for person three will be creating variables, right? But when we have a type defined, what we can do, instead of defining these three properties again and again, what we can do is we can create 10 person object, right? So person tester, in this I'm going to do main method. Okay, now I'm going to create a person object. Let me call p1 equal to new person. Okay, now I said person, and if I say p1 dot display information, do we have any information in this object right now? Because we haven't provided yet. So I have told you like there will be default values. You can see null, 0 and null, because string is an object. So for an object, default value is null, and for integer it's 0. So that's why we are getting null, 0, null. Make sense? Now what I'm doing is p1 dot in p1 object, or I would say just person class, we have address. So I can say p1 dot address is equals to Chandigarh. P1 dot age it's a number or integer, so I'd say int p1 dot name. Let me take Anuj for example. Okay, now we have all the information in this p1 object. When I say display information, so we can see we are getting all the information, right? Okay, now let me create one more object, p2, and just ask p2 show or display your information. Then p2 is saying null, 0, null. Are you getting this? Like what is happening here? Okay, let's understand this using the whiteboard. So this is the class we have, right? And this one also the class we have. I'm posting it here. These are the two classes we have. Okay, now when I'm saying person p equals to new person, what is happening at that time? This p1 is getting created into stack. We have discussed runtime data areas inside JVM. So there was something called as stack. This P1 is no, sorry, not in stack. Uh,
Heap.
no, yeah, it will be in stack. Basically, it's a method call, right? So there was something called Java method stack where this method is getting executed. So this stack will be having all the informations of this method. So P1 will get created into the memory, stack memory, and it will be pointing something here in heap. What is that? That is an object. Which object? Which is holding name, which is basically empty for now, and also it has age and address. After execution of this line, this one, we'll have something like this. Now we are saying p1 dot address means p1's address. Do one thing, initialize that with Chandigarh. So it will add this information here, right? Then we are saying p1 dot age, add 30 over there. P1 dot name, as add Anuj there. So this is the information we have with p1. Now when we are saying p1 dot display info, what is happening then? It's going to its body, I mean the definition. So for this, definition is here, public void display information. What information? System.out.println name. Which name? Who is calling this display info method? P1. That means we need to display name of P1, right? So name of P1 was Anuj, you can see here. So it say Anuj, then print this colon, then what next? Age. Whose age? Because there can be a number of objects in a program. Again, who is calling display info? P1. That means we need to show age of P1, that is 30. Then address, whose address? P1's address, that is Chandigarh, right? Now we are at this line. When we say P2, okay, one P2 will be created inside stack and one object will be associated with it. Something similar. It will be having name, age, address. Okay, but there is nothing. We haven't assigned any value. Like in this case, we were doing some assignment to put values on this place. So in this case, we are not giving any value. That means name is null right now, age is 0, and address is null. Okay, now when we are saying p2 dot display, it come again here in the body, and see what we need to do is we need to print this information. Which information? Name, age, and address. Okay, display name. Whose name? P2's name. What is the value in P2's name? It is null. Then age, it is 0. Then address, it is null. That's why we are getting 0 null, null 0 0. Let me show you. Yeah, here we go. Any doubt, any concern?
I have one question.
Please speak a bit louder.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Not properly.
Okay.
Yes, I can
Now,
hear you now.
yeah.
Yeah, now it's good.
Here, P1 and P2 are reference variables, right?
Yes,
And
yes.
are they saved in heap memory or stack memory?
They will be saved into stack. This is basically the object. This part is an object.
So that
We'll discuss. We'll discuss
variable
that.
one is
Sorry.
okay. Go ahead. You are telling something, right?
Yeah, I'm saying like in detail we will be discussing this one later on. So don't worry.
And can you come down? Like, can you scroll down
Yeah.
at the end of the program? So
Yes.
can
Yes.
you explain like here name, place, and double quote, and you are giving colon, right?
Mm-hmm.
So how it will print?
Like this.
Like it will give space. Why we are using a name place after the double quote and we are giving space again colon and again giving space and double quote.
Yes. So basically, when we want to concatenate something, we use plus operator. The output would look like this. Can you see on my screen?
Yeah, but how we know we have to give like that? Like
No, no,
here
no.
you are
It's up to you. You can use comma here. I am just taking an example. In real world, we don't really need this real project. I'm just trying to explain like how the data is getting stored inside an object, how we can retrieve that data.
my question is how you are giving this double quote and place operator.
Okay. If you are confused, you can use three print statement, right? Like name,
Yeah,
then
that I know, but I want to know in this way, like in
okay.
one line.
Okay. Okay. So what you will be doing whenever you are working something like this. So when you have a variable, you just keep it as it is in the beginning, then you need to print something in between, then you will be doing let me just do it again, just do plus, okay,
Okay.
double quotes, whatever you want to say, just that, and then plus, like this. Now
Double
it should,
quote, whatever value we assigned, it will give, right? We are
yeah,
giving space
whatever
like
you
that.
are writing, it will be printed as it is, like we can do that. Make sense, or still you have any doubt?
Again, why we are giving colon here? Like that double quote is fine. Uh,
Because I want to print colon, that's why.
okay, okay, okay,
Can you
got it.
see the colon has been printed here? You
Okay.
don't want to print, then there is no issue. Like if you just want to keep any space, that is fine. Okay. All right, guys. Now it's your time to ask questions. I'm done for today.
Yes, Anuj. Actually,